it, Jennifer. Your big breaking TV. Welcome to prime time.
What's up, movie buffs? Dad and Daughter Movie Reviews. Today we're reviewing the Nightmare on Elm Street series.
No running in the halls.
Okay.
Yeah, this series, we spent over the last week watching these movies. The first time she had ever seen the movies. I had seen these movies growing up. Wasn't a huge fan of Freddy Krueger or the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. More of a Jason guy growing up. And then, obviously started to appreciate more Michael Myers and Halloween. And then obviously Freddy and A Nightmare on Elm Street. So this is something for me personally that it has taken some time for me to kind of grow into really feeling the way I feel about the character and the movies, the series itself. So we're going to break this down, 9 being our least favorite movie in the series and then 1 being our favorite movie in the series. We have done our own list, compiled our own lists. I know that we've both done a few changes on them, so be kind of curious to see what her list looks like compared to my list, and then obviously what your list would look like in the comment section below. So without further ado, let's get into it. In last place, in 9th, what do you have on your list?
I have part 5, The Dream Child. I don't like how the kid has Freddy's face at the end, and I also think it was really ridiculous and random. It goes more into, like, the backstory of Freddy and how he came to be, but, like, I didn't really like it. Didn't favor it.
Yeah, I also have part 5, The Dream Child. I think this is the worst movie of the series. I think it's his worst look as far as the makeup and prosthetics go. It's so far removed from the original Nightmare on Elm Street and the character itself. This one, like they said, they put it together with like storyboards and pictures. They didn't really have a script for it, and that's why it seems kind of choppy and weird. And just they spend too much time in the dream world with all this weird stuff, and just really wasn't a huge fan of this movie. So I have it in 9th place as well. What do you have in 8th place on your list?
I have part 5, part 4, The Dream Master, and I also think this one was really random and weird. I think it was better than part 5, but I don't like how they brought Cage back just so that they could kill him off. In the documentary, he said that they literally came up to him and told him the reason that they're bringing him back for this movie is because they forgot to kill him off in the last one. And I was like, you can't do that, can you? I guess it wasn't. It was really weird. I didn't like how she acquired all the friends' powers as they died too. So.
Yeah, I also have in 8th place part 4, The Dream Master. As you stated, a little bit better than Dream Child, but not great. I'm a huge Renny Harlin fan. He directed this movie. He directed Prison, which, we've been to the actual filming location to see all that. So we'll do a video of that, obviously down the road here. Got some great actors in it, Lane Smith, Chelsea Field, Kane Hodder makes an appearance, Viggo Mortensen. So cool movie, but he also did Die Hard 2, I'm a huge fan of. And Cliffhanger with Stallone. I'm a big Stallone fan. So, I like Renny Harlin's work, just not so much this one. The dog pissing on the bones and them coming back to life was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. And again, to me, the dream world scenes and him kind of being a jokester and, doing all of his jokes and pranks and all kinds of stuff in this one, just to me, it's just so far removed. 4 or 5 and a little bit of 6 are so far removed from the original that they're kind of hard to watch. So I've also had part 4. What do you have in 7th place?
I have Freddy's Dead.
It makes final sense. Nightmare.
It makes sense. I mean, I guess it goes more into the backstory of why he's killing everybody and their kids. Like, you took my kid from me, so now my turn to take your kids from you. And it goes into like why he hates the parents, like why they killed him, all these things like that. So I really like that one.
I also like that movie. So in 7th place for me is actually going to be Freddy versus Jason. This one is a really fun movie. I really think it's a fun movie to watch. I really like the group, the cast of characters and how the movie's kind of put together. Kind of a mix of the two. Does feel more like a Nightmare on Elm Street movie than a Friday the 13th movie. But again, to me, Freddy just a little too commercialized and too, goofy in this one. Really for my liking. That's why I kind of have it where I have it. But it's a fun movie. It's like, to me, it reminds me of like Halloween Resurrection. Not necessarily the best movie of the series, not the worst, but something just kind of fun where you can be, you can have it on TV and be walking around doing, whatever, and then watch it for a few minutes and then kind of hear it and be doing whatever, and you don't feel like you're missing the movie or that you're missing some like great, great flick. So 7 for me, Freddy versus Jason. What do you have in 6th?
Freddy versus Jason.
Freddy Jason.
I do think that it is more of a Nightmare on Elm Street movie now that I've seen all of them. I was watching them and I was like, we put it into the Friday the 13th series, and
we did.
And I was like, this doesn't really feel like a Friday the 13th movie. I'm like, what is Elm Street? Who is Freddy? What are these people? That was the first time I had seen Freddy like in a movie. I was like,
right.
What is this happening? I'm like, it feels a lot more like a Elm Street movie, but I think he was also really goofy in that one. Both of them were, so it's not higher up on my list because of that. I like the characters though.
6th on my list, I have Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare. Like this one a little better than 5 and 4, obviously. Still has this kind of goofy kind of moments. Like Breckenmeyer, big fan of him. He's in this movie. There's this part in the movie where he is smoking weed and trips out, and then Freddy pulls him into the TV and he's working a joystick and all this, and Breckenmeyer's jumping and doing all this weird stuff. That was obviously goofy as shit. Not a huge fan of that, but I do there's a scene in the movie where it's almost on a loop where they're it feels like they're driving in the same spot and then stopping in the same spot, kind of insinuating, hey, we're in the dream world type thing. But, I like, diving into more of Freddy's backstory in this. Any movie, to me, the movies that I really like are really memorable for me are movies in the series where Robert Englund doesn't just play Freddy Krueger, but he also plays, the Nightmare character, but he also makes an appearance without all the makeup and prosthetics on. And he does in this movie, towards the end where, he's showing that he was a dad of this girl, and then kind of kills the mom and has this special room in the basement where he has all these gloves that he uses or try it out or whatnot, and then kind of showing Alice Cooper being his dad and kind of the torment and everything he went through. Kind of shows you a little bit of why he maybe is the way that he is or ended up the way he did. So I do like that about this movie, and that's why I have it ranked above parts 4 and 5. Getting into number 5, what do you have on number 5?
2010 remake. I think he was arguably scary, terrifying in this one. It went really back to the child killer thing. I was like, oh, it had me confused at the end. I was like, wait, is he innocent? Is this whole series for nothing? What? And then I'm like, oh, no, never mind. No, that's quite the opposite of what he was. But I do like the characters, and I had mixed feelings about it going into it because I knew that it wasn't the original.
It wasn't Robert Englund.
It wasn't Robert Englund, and I was like, I'm not going to like this. But I do think the burns were a lot more like real.
The look of the character, yeah. I agree with a lot of that. I also have Nightmare on Elm Street remake 5 on my list. This is one that was probably down lower on the list, and I've probably over the years gained a little bit more of appreciation for it. And I think the biggest issue with this movie is that fans have such a nostalgia for the character of Freddy and the fact that Robert Englund is Freddy, that seeing somebody else or trying to even think about the possibility of somebody else playing that character, people don't even want to give it a chance. And so I think for the most part, this movie was kind of doomed from the start because it wasn't. But people have to realize that Robert was done playing the character. He didn't want to play the character anymore. So, decided that he wasn't going to do it. And so there wasn't another option. If you're going to reboot the series and whatnot, there has to be somebody else to play the character if he's not willing to do it. And I thought Jackie did a fantastic job in this. I thought he was very menacing. I thought that, even his jokes weren't so comical. They were kind of this dude's a psychopath,
Dark.
right? They were dark type jokes.
Like,
when he kills Jesse and he stabs him through through the thing and pulls his heart out and then hangs him upside down. He says, "Did you know that if when the heart stops, that the brain is still active for 7 minutes?" He's like, "Now we have 6 more minutes of playtime." Like that was just
That was menacing.
yeah,
Creepy.
it was creepy. So I thought he did a really good job playing Freddy Krueger. Obviously, not as good as Robert, but if you're going to reboot it with somebody, I thought he did a fantastic job. I think he gets shit on a little bit too much, and I think this movie gets shit on a little bit too much by the diehards and the people who are nostalgic about Freddy and the character itself, and therefore it isn't really given the chance, you know, to be kind of what it was.
Yeah.
Which was a decent remake. Some remakes were just really terrible. This really, to me, wasn't. And I really felt like diving into the backstory of, you know, him and seeing, you know, the memories through the parents and whatnot of him kind of, you know, being this gardener and being around kids really gave you not only like the stories, but gave you more of a visual of Freddy with kids and why it was such a really bad thing that he did. And I thought the movie did it really well. So, you know, a lot of people don't like this movie. I don't really care what other people think. You're wrong.
Yeah. Yes.
So getting into 4, what do you have on 4 on your list?
I have New Nightmare. He was definitely the creepiest. One of the creepiest in this movie. It was a violent. It was like really violent and different. Freddy looked a lot more like, I don't know. He looked buff. I don't really know how to say it. He looked like bigger.
Yeah, just a little bit older. You know, a little bit older
like,
playing the character.
Oh, hello. And I have never seen a movie like this before. How they're playing themselves. They're like playing themselves. Like,
it's a movie about them making a movie, right? And
yeah.
Because when she first started watching it, she was like, "What the fuck is going on?
What is happening?
Did Nancy change her name to Heather?" And she's like
witness protection.
Yeah. And I'm like, "No, that's her name. Her name is Heather in real life." And so you pay attention, like they're calling Wes, and they're calling Robert, and they're calling, you know, Robert Shea. John Saxon. So it's really that movie inside of a movie, which was really cool. If you're gonna kind of revive the series, right? What better way to do it than that, obviously. Number 4 on my list is going to be Part 3, Dream Warriors. I know a lot of people love this movie. A lot of people have this as their favorite movie or the best movie of the series. It's not. This is the first movie where Freddy kind of gets goofy and commercialized. And when you have a music video and you have a you know, this song for the movie and all this kind of stuff, you know, you're getting to be a little bit goofy and commercialized, and you're kind of, again, stepping away from what the character was originally intended to be. And this is the first movie to kind of do that. It's good. I like, you know, Nancy's character's back, so that's cool. It isn't terrible. The concept of it isn't terrible. You know, this is the first movie where we really start to get a little bit of a backstory on Freddy. You know, Amanda Kruger shows up as the nun, and you know, son of 100 maniacs or 1,000 maniacs or whatever it is. So we start to get bits and pieces of his past, but still, to me, not the best movie of the series. And is it in the top half? Yeah. Is it the best movie of the series? No.
No.
Okay, getting into number 3, what do you have on your list?
I have Dream Warriors.
Okay.
So I think this one's actually a really good movie, but the reason that it's not higher up on my list is because he starts to get goofy in this one, and like, he's supposed to be this like creepy child killer thing. He's not really in this one. He kind of turns into like a little bit of a goofy Joker person. I also don't like how they have their own powers.
Welcome to prime time, bitch. Right? Like, come on.
I'm a wizard master. Like, bro, nobody cares. Like,
in my dream, I can walk. Like, yeah, I mean, some of that stuff.
Well, yeah, of course, in your dreams you can walk. Keep dreaming, buddy.
Some of that stuff is goofy. I completely agree.
Like, I didn't like it because of that. But
number 3 on my list, New Nightmare. We already kind of touched on it a little bit Really like the concept of this movie, how it's filmed, how it's made, movie inside of a movie. You know, you feel like you're watching these people in real life, and this movie's kind of playing out and mixing into their real lives, into the real world. And I just thought it was a really cool concept. After, 4, 5, and 6 kind of doing this, you needed to do something to kind of pump new blood into the series and kind of make it, what it is again. And so to me, this movie does that. Freddy looks cool. They created a new glove and all this kind of stuff. I just feel like, he does make some jokes in this one or whatnot, but it goes back to kind of trying to be that more like scary, nightmarish type Freddy, which I really liked. I thought it was really well done how they kind of, Wes is writing this movie and Robert's dealing with these nightmares at the same time. And then at the end, they pull the script and it's them talking, and it's just, I thought it was really well done. So I'm a huge fan of this movie. I think it's one of the best of the series. Getting into number 2, what do you have at number 2 on your list? Here we go. We're getting to the top 2.
I have the original.
Oh, you're gonna fucking piss off the diehards with that one.
I know I was bad about the remake because it wasn't Robert Englund, but the original's not my first place. But it actually is a really good movie. I think one of my favorite, the coolest horror movie kills, you didn't even see it happen. I guess he just got sucked into a bed and then...
Glenn's character, Johnny Depp, yep.
I don't know. And then in the documentary, spoiler alert, they said that they made a rotating room and that he actually fell into the bed and then got strapped to a chair, and then they poured water and blood and the room was just spinning and spinning and spinning, and they couldn't stop it. So I think that was cool. I also think that I'd be terrified if I saw someone getting dragged on across the ceiling. That's creepy too.
Oh.
They used the same room for that kill that they used for the blood on the ceiling.
Yep.
Cool. So I really like that movie.
Number 2 on my list, I also have A Nightmare on Elm Street 1984, number 2. And again, I don't care. Great movie. Really perfection as far as a script, a character itself. The creation of Freddy Krueger to me is the most perfect horror villain in history. With other characters, you have the ability or at least the thought that you can get away, hide, do whatever, but everybody has to sleep and everybody dreams. And in your dreams, at least for me, most people don't have control over their dreams. And you're not your strongest, you're not your smartest, you're not at your best in your dreams. And if you're not, and you're coming face to face with a person like that, you're toast. And so the thought process of kids being so scared that they don't want to sleep, I thought was just brilliant. I mean, it's something that had never been done before, and it was revolutionary. And I think it's the greatest concept, the greatest character. I think Robert Englund is the greatest horror character, villain, actor in history. I don't care what anybody says. I feel like he is the best, and this movie proves it. As always with original movies, they have to go a little bit more into kind of explaining things and whatnot, so they're not as fast-paced as maybe some of the sequels and everything end up being. But I thought it was really, really well done. I thought it was very effective, very creepy. When Nancy's character's sleeping and Freddy kind of comes through the wall. I mean, visually just unbelievable. When she's in the bathtub and the claw comes between her legs in the bathtub, just so visually pleasing. The arms stretched out in the alleyway, just, unbelievable concept. The one thing I don't like about this movie is that Freddy's character's voice changes throughout the movie. If you listen earlier in the movie, he's like, "Nancy, I'm gonna come and get you." It's Robert's voice, and then at the end, he's like, "You better listen up, bitch." You know what I mean? Like, it changes. So, not necessarily the biggest deal, but for me, just a revolutionary horror movie. Awesome. The best movie of the series, yes. My favorite, no. But the best of the series, yes. One of the best horror movies ever created, yes. Yeah. One of the, in my opinion, the best horror creation ever in Freddy Krueger? Yes. So obviously, no surprise here. We'll kind of dive into this together because we clearly have the same opinion on number one, and this is not something we talked about. It just happened that way. So let's talk about it. In the first place, we have part two, Freddy's Revenge, as our favorite movie of the series. Yeah. So
the gayest horror movie there ever was. But it's so random. I guess it's random. That like they said that they didn't even mean for it to be like that. So I was like, oh.
Sorry, excuse me.
I think that it's got a really cool death scene in it, but I wouldn't really call it a death scene, but I like he looks scary in this one too.
He does, he really does, for sure.
He's scary and his eyes are different. I also like the concept of how someone's controlling you, like Halloween Ends.
And they kind of did that with Freddy versus Jason too, right? Yeah,
yes.
Jason
And like
kill for me.
Control.
Yeah. Yep.
Kill for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like the characters too.
What do you think about the lead character, Mark Patton, Jesse?
I like how the roles were reversed. Instead of like final girl, it's a final guy with girlfriend, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly.
Totally agree. This is my favorite one. This is the one that, growing up, I had the most memories and whatnot of. I really like Jesse's character, and like you said, I'm a huge fan of this kind of blending of Freddy and Jesse coming together, and Jesse taking care of whatever for him, so that he could kind of come back and reintroduce himself and you know, come out of the dream world type thing, right? You know, I'm a huge fan of Robert Russler, like him a lot. And again, as I said earlier, you know, in Freddy's Dead, Robert Englund makes an appearance in the beginning of this movie as the bus driver in the beginning, which I thought was really cool. I'm just a huge fan of this movie. I feel like this is the darkest movie of the series.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah, there are a lot of homophobic things that happen in this movie. They, you know, said that it wasn't intentional, but I mean, let's be honest, when you're having, you know, a sign on the door that says no chicks allowed, and your lead character's dancing like this and getting pulled, his pants getting pulled down and his bare ass showing on the soccer or the football field or no baseball field, and then you're going to a gay bar in the middle of the night, and your gym teacher is into S&M and you know gets his ass whipped in the shower and stuff like that. Like, you can't tell me that you didn't know that it was what it was.
Right.
And this is all pretty much explained in Scream Queen, My Nightmare on Elm Street. Mark Patton made that documentary a few years ago and kind of explained all this type stuff. But I really like this movie. Freddy's look in this one with the skinnier face and the more sunken in cheekbones and having the red eyes. And having that real dark, deep voice throughout it, I think is much scarier than the first one was. When he comes out at the pool and everything, it just looks awesome. The first scene when Jesse is, you know, wakes up and then sees him outside and then goes around the house and sees Freddy in the basement pulling the claw out of the boiler room and then tries to go downstairs and Freddy's trying to get out and then he turns around and he's right there and he's like, telling him, you know, hey, we have special work to do here. You and me. Like, that scene was fucking awesome. And then to me, in this, it has visually the greatest horror scene in any movie I have ever seen ever. And that is when Jesse later in the movie is staying at Grady's house and he's like, hey, watch me. And he's like, Grady, it's happening again. And he's like, what's happening? And he puts his hands out and the claws come out of his finger. And then his arm starts to rip and you can see Freddy's sweater underneath. And then you can see Freddy looking out of his mouth. And then his head kind of eventually comes out. And he slashes the chest and just kind of steps out and shreds him like a snakeskin. I mean, dude, if there's a better scene in a horror movie ever... You know, put it in the comment section below because I don't think that's possible. I've seen a ton of horror movies, and that's the coolest visual I've ever seen. So this one for me, huge fan of Mark Patton. Huge fan, obviously, of how this kind of plays out, how dark it is, the look of Freddy, how scary it is, and how dark it is. My favorite Nightmare on Elm Street movie. So let's see how many did we get that were the same? 1, 2, 3, 4. So 5. We had 5 of 9 that we had the same, and then a couple that we just were one off. I had, we have 6 and 7 switched, and then 3 and 4 switched, and that's really it.
That's
Other than that, our lists are basically the same. So
same.
that just goes to show you that we were basically seeing the same thing when we were
Yeah.
watching the movies. So hope you guys enjoyed this one. We're gonna have one more thing we're gonna do here in October with Nightmare on Elm Street. We kind of talked about doing, there's 31 days in October, and since it's really, the Halloween season, doing something where we take Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Halloween, and maybe even Scream. I don't know. We'll talk about kind of what we want to do, but then taking, in our opinion, out of all of those series of movies, the top 31 movies, and then counting them down and having a list from 31 to 1, which movie out of those series is our favorite. So I thought that'd be kind of cool and kind of unique. So be on the lookout for that. We have some other things that we're working on. We did Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We're going to do original or remake, right? We're going to do a video on that
Yeah.
and see if we like the original or the remake better. We have Tarot that we're going to do, Founders
Tarot
Day.
and Founders Day.
So we have some other things kind of in the works here, and so be on the lookout for those. Hit the little bell so you get notified when we make a new video. Thumbs up, share it, subscribe to the channel. That really means a lot to us. Let us know in the comment section below what you think about our list, what your favorite Freddy Krueger movie is. If you were to compile a list like ours, what would your list look like? Would it look more like mine, more like hers? Would it look completely different? We're really kind of curious how other horror fans see this series. So be on the lookout for new stuff and new content. And until the next one, we are out.
We got special work to do here, you and me. You've got the body. I've got the brain.